So when I heard of Megadimension coming to Steam, I was ecstatic. I'm a huge fan for the Neptunia series, and I really enjoyed the first 3 remakes, so I had a lot of expectations for this new entry. And in the end, I believe they delivered it very well, with some sour tastes here and there. Honestly, I personally think this is the best Neptunia game we've had yet. But why? Also, I know this is a 3-year-old game, but fuck it, I have been wanting to make this review for a really long time, so just let me have this. In this video, I want to talk about most of the different aspects this game brings, as well as my own criticisms for it. I won't be spoiling anything huge about the game, but I will be showcasing the different dimensions, the new characters, and the new next forms, so just be aware. Maybe there's a little bit of others, so nothing huge, I guess, story-wise, but yeah, just be aware. But for those that don't remember, or if you don't know anything about Neptunia at all, why are you here? Let's bring y'all up to speed. In the realm of Neptunia, we've got our 4 main heroes, Neptune, Noir, Blanc, and Bert. Each of the 4 are references to real-life game consoles, Neptune being the Sega Neptune, Noir being PlayStation, Blanc Wii, and Bert is Xbox. Neptune's quite the carefree gal, always being a beacon of optimism and the queen of fourth wall breaking. It takes quite a lot to break her smile, even in situations where it may seem bleak, she'll always try to make a joke somewhere. She also has a kink for falling from the sky. Noir is your typical tsundere chick who's probably the most serious and reliable out of the bunch, although she's pretty easy to tease and make fun of. She also has very high pride in herself, constantly trying to one-up everyone. Can't beat Bert though. Blanc is the bookworm, author of many classics, such as You Wouldn't Like Me When I'm Angry, and Fuck You Bitch, I'm a Tank. She's quiet most of the time, since she likes to spend time reading more than anything. It's only when you get her pissed off is when she gets interesting. Trust me.
毎晩ロムちゃんとラムちゃんの写真を持って無事でいてねって願掛けしてること。てめえ、見てやがったのか。もちろんよ、同じ部屋なんだから。ブランちゃんは大好きなんだね、妹ちゃんたちが。ふざけんな。そのことは誰にも言ってねえだろうな。
And finally, my beloved Vert, a kind and gentle soul. She is very caring, ready to help those in need, wherever and whenever. Until a new game releases, and then Vert just fucking locks herself in a room, just playing the ever-living shit out of the game like there's no tomorrow. Girl gamer, am I right? She also likes to flirt towards Nepgear and hopes she'll be her own little sister instead of Neptune.
それで、隣にいる子は誰だ？彼女はネプギア、私の妹ですわ。ずいぶん似てない姉妹がいたものだね。さては、妹欲しさにさらってきたか。
As well as that, there are also goddesses that each control a different country, where the people worship them to gain shares, or their form of power. Besides Vert, the goddesses have siblings that aren't as cool as the main 4, except for Nepgear, but they're an interesting bunch sometimes. Here they are along with their respective sisters, and which console they also reference to. Now let's talk about Megadimension and how it's different from the other mainline games. First off, notably, they changed the overworld layout, so now you must follow a certain path to reach a dungeon or a city. Exiting a dungeon also doesn't fully heal your guys, so you're gonna have to reach a city if you want to heal. I thought this was a nice change of pace, adding a slight bit of difficulty, since you'll be using items a little bit more often. But there's also random encounters. Fuck that. I can't think of one person who genuinely thinks this is really fucking great. I get the whole immersive impact in it, but it's just not the way to go, man. I fucking hate it. They've also added a feature called Scouts. If you've ever played Fairy Fencer F, the scouts act more or less similar to the fairies in terms of mechanics, but it's just added a feature. You can play as scouts in dungeons and they'll look for materials for a certain time before coming back. They can also change the nature of the dungeon depending on the scout. For example, a scout like this will give you more XP at the cost of gold whenever you visit a dungeon that they're in. It's a pretty interesting concept since it combines Stella's dungeon with parts of the plan system in the other games. I think it's a nice touch. I don't have to grind for materials as much anymore, they get to do it for me. It's a win-win. The combat seems to have changed compared to the last game as well. The combos are now dependent on the weapon you wield, the EXE gauge no longer persists after battle but they're a lot faster to fill, and you have this new mechanic called formation skills. These skills are used when the characters are in between an enemy and can deliver a good amount of damage altogether. I'm still a fan of Rebirth 3's combat, where the EXE gauge just pretty much no longer exists, but I think this is a better combat system than the first Rebirth and the second. There's also the newly added giant battles, although we'll touch upon that later. Story-wise, this game is like the previous editions. It takes itself a little seriously, but for the most part, they like to crack up jokes and break the fourth wall a lot. It's also probably my favorite storyline plot out of the entire series, just because how great Uzume's character develops throughout the game. Without spoiling anything, the story is separated into 3 arcs, which also takes place in 3 different dimensions. The Zero arc, the Gold Third arc, and the Heart arc. Not sure if that's their actual titles, but I like to name them that. This game follows the same amount of endings as Rebirth 3, meaning there's only one alright ending, one bad ending, and then one true ending. So, if you're looking for Rebirth 2's like 10 endings, you're not gonna find that here. Hey, this is the segment where I talk about the new characters. I don't want to get too specific on the people, but here we got Uzume, the cool and cute gal, who's also the main focus of the game. She's one of those people where she likes to act cool and all, but deep down, she can't resist her cute side, and it's very adorable. Gold Third, a team of 4 interesting girls who are references to video game companies. I'll let you guess where they're from.
私たちが誰かって？そうだね。4つの黄金の頂に君臨せし者。ゴールドサードとでも名乗らせてもらおうか。
Oh, they're so badass. Also, and if you're wondering, I don't know why it's called Gold Third, but your guess is as good as Noir's.
ゴールドサードですって？3だか4だか知らないけど、せっかくの決勝戦に水を差さないでくれるかしら？
And then you got the DLC characters who aren't important to the story at all, but they're fun to have. For the 2 new robots, I think I'm only gonna talk about Steam Max, because I think he's the better person. Steam Max is a bit on the shy side, but he's very, friendly with Uni, so you got that coming. So the main CPUs have an entirely new form, a form that you can't customize at all. They look very fabulous, and the music they accompany with is even better. I gotta say, Absolute is awesome. Something I would like to see is the next forms for the CPU candidates, because I think that can make a bank. it would look pretty interesting to see those guys have them. The animations were upped as well, giving a nice transformation clip whenever someone transforms, but some of the other animations, mostly skills, still feels a bit stiff and still at times. Probably my favorite improvement from the previous titles is definitely the music. It has gotten more atmospheric and catchier. Like, sometimes I just have to stop playing and listen to the background music, because it's so awesome. I don't even know how to describe it. It's amazing. Just listen to the overworld music in Zero Dimension, a place of ruin and isolation. The music, Desperado, helps immerse the idea with this beautiful yet desolate piece. Just listen to it. Or when you cast an EXE drive and listen to this theme, which will never get old ever, even after hearing it more than 100 times. Or how about one of my favorite songs, the one that plays in the giant battles? Speaking of which... Giant battles are a new addition to the franchise where the player fights a gigantic CPU in a relatively small area. In this battle, you can't use basic attacks, and some skills are rendered unusable, so it helps to bring a lot of SP potions before battle. You can traverse the map by hopping on these small areas, so you can set up some good formation skills. These CPUs can be intimidating at first due to the large health pool and some AoE attacks, but, perseverance is key, and spamming the shit out of healing pots. Difficulty-wise, the Neptunia series was never a hard game, but it did have a lot of grinding if you wanted to, not struggle a bit. This game, however, even with the overworld and combat changes, I never thought of it as a step up from difficulty, save for one specific boss battle. Personally, I didn't think it was that hard, but, some others can say otherwise, but, just grind a bit and you'll be okay, is pretty much the go-to advice when it comes to these games. Speaking of difficulty, oh no, not this one, not this one! Whoever made this godforsaken minigame is the single worst human being on the face of the entire solar system. This minigame is so clunky and rage-inducing, it makes Superman 64's controls look like it deserves Game of the Year. Ugh, I fucking hate this goddamn minigame. While this minigame isn't integral to the story, thank fucking god, you do need to pass this if you want to get the handy endgame items, such as the one you can break certain destructible objects in dungeons. I didn't even realize there was another place for this minigame. Holy fuck, there's one in the Zero Dimension? Post-endgame here is more tiresome than any other game, since there's pretty much only one enemy that gives a lot of XP. Not to mention the dungeon that it's in. This dungeon is the only dungeon where you don't have access to the compass, so you either have to run around aimlessly or look up a guide on the place. Which is what I did. I highly recommend it. There's a lot of floors in there. The giant EXP drop enemy will give around 1 million by default, but by using Scout you can increase that further. The problem with this, however, is that after a certain level, it just doesn't seem to be worth grinding anymore. It's a lot more time consuming, since, after a certain point you might need to beat this guy twice, maybe even 3 times, just to level up once, and it's not worth leveling up to 999, unless you're a really hardcore endgame person. Overall, I think this is the strongest Neptunia game that we've ever gotten. Upgraded graphics, music, combat, a good story. This game will satisfy a lot of Neptunia fans. I highly recommend playing this one, even if you haven't played a single Nep game. While most of the introductions are brief here, I believe that if you want to start here as your first Nep game, it wouldn't be so bad of a start. You don't need to know the other ones to know this one. That's it for this video. I hope you all have a great and amazing day, everybody. See ya.